12th, 9 a.m. meeting of the Wareham Affordable Trust called to order. Clerk Schultz, can we get a roll?
Roll call, please, starting
Sandy
with
Slavin.
Judith Whiteside.
Jim Manise.
and Carl Schultz.
Thank you.
We have a quorum.
Present, review and approve minutes for August 13th, 2024.
I'll move them. Move to accept.
Move to accept.
Is that the one that needs the
Right, you want them to have
an absent
amended?
an amended with who
Showing the
noted
absent?
showing yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Say that again.
It's amended to show the absence.
Oh.
You
Yep.
have to not
Okay,
only list
yeah.
the present, you also have to list the absent members. Thank you.
we have a motion. Do we have a second as amended?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That'd be 4-0-0.
Who seconded? Yeah,
Sandy
Sandy
did.
seconded.
And we're accepting this, not approving it, right?
No, it's approved. Accept and
Judy was
approve.
missing.
Huh? It's on the agenda, accept and approve.
I can
Alright.
move to approve them.
Well, I thought you could have moved to accept them, not approve them.
I can move to approve them.
Okay. And you
Thank
voted for, so we voted for 0-0.
4-0. All right, now the minutes for September 10th, 2024.
Move as submitted. Move to approve as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we get a vote?
Aye.
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 Jim Manise, aye, 4-0-0. Thank you. Now we'll move on to new business. Received some correspondence from 801 Village, that's on Main Street, Nanette Perkins. And she is here, and also Patrick Scanlon is here representing the project. Would you like to talk to us about it?
First of all, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see
Thank
you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, gosh, our pleasure. I'll admit, I thought it was PM at first and it took me a second.
I'm sorry.
For anyone, no, it wasn't your fault. But it's been slow. But we had the old DHCD, EOHLC say, okay, let's move forward. We got the a lot of the mortgages and the working with MHP and DHC or HLC has assigned money here and there and everywhere. That's Patrick's expertise. But in order to get, we are going modular still. In order to get that process going and sign that contract, we need to give them a deposit, and it's a bit substantial. And as we move forward, we wanted to come, quite honestly, back to you folks and see if there was any possibility that you would, again, because you have provided support through the CPC, very graciously, but we do come before you again to see if there is any way that we can kind of get these additional funds so that we can sign and get this going. Because we technically could break ground in February, this February,
So this is an ask for how much?
407,000.
407,000.
Additional?
Yes,
But we've not given them money before.
no, you have not, but
I am.
Town has.
But the town has.
300,000 for
Correct.
CPC. Okay. I did send out documentation to the board of the plans that you submitted in 2002, was it?
Oh, no, 2020.
2022.
Yes.
Number on
That would have been really slow.
Yeah, and also the financials at that point in time. And
It was also an
Pro forma?
application doc.
Yes.
and I don't have that, but thank you.
You
No.
said, it was in the package you sent.
Okay, the application document then.
Yeah, you did send it, Jim.
And so on the pro formas, there's a bit of a difference in the amount of the project from then to now. And I understand things have gone up, but it's pretty large, I think,
Correct,
almost double.
close, yeah.
So, and truthfully, we do not have $407,000 to distribute, so you might need to go back to CPC with an ask there. We just don't have those type of funds. And, you know, it's one big pool, even though we're two separate boards. So, does anybody else on the board, let's open it up for discussion, please.
I just have a few questions.
Please.
So this was originally an ask in 2022,
Yes.
okay? And the holdups, hangups have been, can you bring me up to speed?
Oh, sure.
Shortly, I mean, you know.
Yes, I'll do
short
my best.
version.
Small project, more expensive. EOHLC isn't keen on small projects, they like really big ones.
Mm.
Our standpoint is a little bit different on that, which you might remember me saying in the past. But we actually sent Secretary Augustus and Senator Moran
Correct.
came down to our current project, the Village at our current development, the Village at 815 Main Street, to walk the property, see what our plan was, and honestly, having him behind us really helped get things going.
Okay.
Being that we are a small project and have to jump through all the same hoops as a 100-unit project. Does that help?
Yeah, and the total project cost was and now is?
I'll let him,
Yeah,
I
please.
don't know if he has my old,
I don't, yeah, I don't.
you don't have the old, but and
go
once
ahead, please. No, you. I'm sorry, Nana.
we can get you, I wasn't sure exactly what you would need this morning.
Well, I don't care, as long as you're telling us there was an increase in price. So
absolutely.
what's the current?
Right now, total development cost is around 3.9.
And the total number of units?
8, including the existing house.
But that 3.9 does not include renovation to that existing house?
It's all done.
It's all done.
Okay,
That's
so the
done, yeah.
3.9 is for how many
7.
7 module units? Cause we can't count in that 3.9
Oh, of
the
course.
house that's already done.
Correct.
It's not.
And one of those is, 2 of those are not modular, they're going to be renovation of the barn that's there.
Yep,
Remember, yeah.
Yep. so how many module
There will be 3 modular buildings.
duplexes or
Yes.
Yes,
okay,
one is a singular and 2 are duplexes.
one single duplexes?
And the single is handicap,
Correct.
So there's one handicap out of the total?
right?
There's 2.
Yeah, there are 2.
2 handicap
The
units.
first floor of the barn as well.
Yes.
And the barn will be how many units?
2.
2.
And the barn is included in this 3.9?
That's
Correct.
correct.
It was all kind of included in the first ask also, right?
Yes, little did we know that,
So you're going from 300,000 to 700 and that's the ask.
correct,
From the
everything
town.
had to be redone, rebid. The lawyers had to get all involved again, so did the architects and the civil engineers. It was kind of like we had to start over in some ways.
Right, still the same footprints and everything else. Right, because that's what I sent out, I didn't, because, you know. Again, my my take on it is, we don't have 407,000.
I understand. Can I ask you a question?
Okay?
You had just made mention of the fact, yeah, you're two separate boards, but you're pulling from the same pool.
Well, the town.
Well, right.
But
I'm just
No, they're
Mrs.
not.
Whiteside says no.
No, they're not.
No,
Okay. They're not,
they
okay.
are not.
All right,
Whatever, you allocate them differently. Okay, thanks, but.
so, but we don't have $407,000. So
I
my suggestion under the affordability would be to go to Community Preservation Committee. And I think there's a due date of December sometime,
Second Tuesday in December for spring town meeting.
application.
Which is April.
Second Tuesday in December?
Uh-huh,
Wait a minute, second Tuesday in January? Second Tuesday in January for spring town meeting, which is the fourth Monday in April.
Changed it, huh?
Yeah, we changed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we like the
Which is
project.
April
but-
28th.
go ahead.
sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, we liked the project previously. I believe we approved or we
We sent a letter of support.
letter of support. The only thing, you know, the financials kind of caught me. I did dig back and look at them, and that's a considerable increase. I could see if it was 20%, 30% when you're going from, this is considerable. That's a.
It is,
so-
it is. And I'll tell you, you should see what's even going on with some of the bigger projects down Cape. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And just the increase in cost, labor is a big
Yeah.
one.
When the CPA grant was submitted in January of '22, it was 2.8 million for the total project.
So that's about all I can say. I don't know if anybody else has.
Are there any other suggestions from anyone? No, okay, fair enough.
Do we
So-
wanna consider some of our funds for this to show the support financially?
I would rather see them make the ask through CPC,
And by asking through CPC, we must get approval by town meeting.
right?
We do not need town meeting to disperse our funds.
No, that's true, but I don't know how much it would help, and I'm not sure what you have for bank financing. Has it been approved?
As bank financing, we have commitment letters from several banks for permanent and construction financing.
So, would you be doing it on a construction loan? And then seeking funds be distributed from our board or from the town after completion of the project to buy down your mortgage or go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the project is a nice one. I'm sort of in Jim's camp here in terms of in terms of the increase. And to be honest with you, if it's 8 units for that kind of money, that's way above and beyond, I think, sort of the acceptable breaking point in terms of what we can support. I mean, I think it almost has outpriced itself in terms of ROI. I don't know.
I appreciate your input, Judith.
No, that's,
Sure.
I'm just doing some calculations in my head here.
I mean, the ROI, but we're also wanting to put housing here. I mean, there are things that are very expensive and it needs to be able to support itself.
We have applied for safe harbor.
What was that?
We have applied for safe harbor.
Right.
We being the town.
Correct. We have not yet heard back, but we have the numbers.
Okay, that's good, congratulations.
Thank you.
The real,
I don't want,
I'm gonna ask this in the probably the worst way possible. Have you reached that with actual affordables or with the 40B projects that are part affordable and part,
We got it.
okay, I understand.
so,
Without another shovel in the ground.
1, 2, you said total of
8,
8,
but 7 new ones.
right, yeah. So the renovation and the 2, so it's 800. I think as of right now, we've been given like a per unit count of around 50,000 per unit. I think in the case of Chapel Lane, it broke down to that. You have 6 units there, Mr. Bosherman?
We have 6.
Go
We didn't
ahead,
give 50,000 per unit, it was.
the town.
Oh,
I see that,
I don't, we're not the town, so
No.
I'm not gonna understand that. when you
okay,
say
so we gave
50,000 total.
50,000 total. And then the town, through CPC, gave an additional, Sandy left, 150? So we gave 200 total. It's just, we don't have the money at the Affordable Housing Trust. We're willing to support it, the project, we like the project. Maybe we can contribute in a small amount. I personally, I'm just one voting member of the board. Would like to see the larger asks through CPC because they have the larger funds
Pockets.
available.
Right.
Yeah. And I would file a application with them. And if it puts you back 5 or 6 months, who knows, maybe interest rates will come down. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, you know, it's in the country and
Yeah, true.
could save you a bit of money,
Agreed.
maybe not. That's all I have to say. Anybody else?
I just have, are we gonna formally act on the application? Because we haven't discussed the application, it's just.
Well, I can't. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the application?
Well, no, I mean,
As- oh, wait,
You're not
let
there.
me finish here. As submitted.
How about this?
Please.
I make a motion that we ask the applicants to withdraw their application at the moment without prejudice.
And in that way, you can just reapply for a different amount.
Okay.
Okay,
You know, it's not like
It
it would
does
cost you
nothing, yeah.
money.
But then we're not declining it and we're not approving it, because we have no legal way of approving it, because we don't have the funding.
We don't have the funds for that.
Okay, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Great, I support your
Okay.
motion, but the last thing. We have no legal way, that comment. We could accept the application and grant them $3.
Good.
That's what I meant, so we.
No, I understand that, but I'm suggesting a cleaner way
No,
of
no,
doing it,
I'm
which is
fully supportive of
take it
your-
off the table
yeah,
and come back and see us.
I'm fully supportive of your
yeah.
motion, I just wanted to discuss that closing comment.
Yep, well, that wasn't part of the motion, but it was,
Oh, okay.
that was a throwaway.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sandy?
I have no problem with that.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. And the motion is to ask the applicants to withdraw the application. We would,
Consider it.
With
when they-
prejudice.
Without prejudice.
Without.
and we'd consider it without prejudice and is that what you'd like, Mrs.
Yes, please.
Whiteside, for a motion?
Yes,
Your
please.
motion? We had a second?
Yeah, second.
Motion by Mrs. Whiteside, second by Mrs. Slavin. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we get a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0-0. So,
So that's closed and done. So the discussion is, we think you should apply to CPC, see what you can get in the fall, spring. And then at that time, if you still need more, then you can come back for a smaller ask from us.
Okay, very good.
That's sort of a summary of what we discussed, Jim.
Or why not ask for the smaller amount
No.
with the next application?
Whatever.
Which
Okay,
would show the town and CPC that you're there to do a financial support of a small amount. But we're putting a iron in the fire with some of our funds.
We put an iron in the fire of $300,000, correct? The
We did
town,
not.
the town.
The town did, yes, but as Affordable Housing Trust, we haven't.
Okay.
I'm thinking as we really need, part of it is to show both the town, the body at town meeting, that we are using our funds.
Right, okay, so if I might ask. On your application for financing, had you shown that the town had already committed, given you letters of support and committed and provided for you $300,000 toward the project? So the bank is requiring more?
EOHLC required more.
On your part, as the developer, they wanna see a bigger,
Patrick, you care to field that? I mean, it's,
I guess, yeah, no, their UHLC is requesting that we seek out more funding.
okay, locally.
no, did they tell you when you added locally?
you know, it was locally. Truthfully.
You're right, I did that.
So
It
there-
is, or it is, I'm sorry.
It is,
It-
EOHLC asked us to come to the town, back to the town to see if they could give that 407.23 or something silly. So yes, that did come from them.
And how much are they providing?
Right now, I think it's 800,000.
So they want us to provide almost as much as they
Oh,
do
800, yeah, with the three, we would be half, 50% would come from us. From the combined,
state and federal, state and.
no, that's not what I said. They got 800,000 from EHOLC. 300,000 they've already got from CPC. They were requested to get another 400,000 from the town. So that would be 50% of the grant funding from EOHLC. 50% total if they get the 400,000 combined, and then the balance of the 3.9, which would be 3.1 million, is bank funding.
Correct.
Well, okay,
Did I say that right?
well, yeah, but you
Go
made
ahead.
me, you made me think a little bit differently. Thank you. So the total cost is 3.9, right? Okay. What has just been pointed out is the percentage. How much do the investors have in this? That was really, I think that's what you're aiming at, Carl. I'm not really
Yes,
sure.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
You're saying how much have investors invested in this project so far?
Yeah,
Yeah,
how much
the-
of the
the-
total 3.9 will be equity from the
Thank you.
investors?
Right now, probably in the $500,000 range, ish, like when it's all said and done.
Okay, let me try the question again. What are the sources of funding to date?
Yeah, which is what, we've got to go back and review the application. They were supposed to list all those sources.
Okay,
weren't
so,
listed.
but you have a current, okay,
Yes, Sandy. They provide.
I don't see their,
Yeah, it wasn't on the
I don't see
application.
your-
We'll resubmit a sources and detailed sources and uses.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go through the application, because I didn't.
yeah, I don't see your money. That's what I'm looking for.
this document's revised July 23, so it has to be something a little bit more current,
Yes,
but this is what we have.
Right. But
okay, and that's, okay, so
But you
we'll get
sent
you
me
this
and I-
current source and uses, gotcha.
That's why I wanted to go through the applications.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
We can get that over to you today.
Yeah, and we won't be meeting
No, no,
again for a
you don't have
month.
to get it today. When you resubmit the application,
Oh,
whenever you
okay.
should
Yeah.
try to do that, it should have current sources and uses, whole financial description. The application was meant to be a guide, not
Understood.
You talk with CPC. Please.
out of curiosity, how much does this trust have available for projects at the moment,
hang on,
uncommitted?
I did bring that. I have a question about uncommitted, but
Yeah, so I think we're all gonna be committed.
No,
Okay, so we have 60,000 from a prior money, of which 56,000 has been committed.
So you have 4,000.
We have 4,000. Then we have the fall 23 grant for 150,000, of which we
Why don't we use
not
the
committed any of that.
I'm really.
150,000.
No, fall of what, 23?
Fall 23.
just say we could pick.
Last I had a bank balance, I'm sorry,
All right, go ahead.
Nothing, keep going.
Bank balance.
last I have a bank balance of $141,000. And that's at the end of 23. I don't have an updated one which would have been interest in it, so that's, say
Go ahead, 100 and what?
I have 141 at the end of FY 23.
So that's not what we produced on our financial statement that we sent to town. As of whatever the date, 2023 6/30 ledger. And assuming that we're giving the money to Woodland Cove, because that was subtracted out, we have $245,813.92 uncommitted.
But if we have a bank
I
balance of,
don't we have a commitment to 6?
That
Chapel?
includes that.
So what do you have committed there?
Rental assistance to Woodland Cove Phase 1, rental assistance to Woodland Cove Phase 1 for $56,000. 6 Chapel Lane, $106,000 committed.
I
Out
don't
of-
think so.
No, we got 50,000.
You got
coming
50 from us.
From the housing trust and 100.
That's what I said.
No,
You
you
said
didn't.
106.
That's total. 50,000 for Woodland Cove Phase 1, 6,000 for Woodland Phase 1 for 56, and 50,000 for 6
Okay.
Chapel. That's 106.
Yes, okay.
I misunderstood you.
I
Sorry.
misunderstood you too, because I thought you were saying
They were
So
doing
in
106.
total-
Voted on and we
Yes,
approved this
yes.
in August.
committed.
We submitted this to the town in our annual report.
So
And
needless
we don't
to
have any
say,
bank balances up to any interest since then, so yeah, there's some more interest since.
so needless to say, we don't have 407. We, for 6 units, we provided 50,000. This board did. Okay. And so we have 8 units. If you wanna do the math and come back with something which might reflect those
I'm
numbers
sorry,
which are
I
able.
don't hear, I don't see 8 units.
7 newly created.
One's already done.
I know that.
But-
That's why,
no, he was saying 6 to Chapel.
No, he was saying 8 for Main
Just try to
Street.
extrapolate from that number.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
You know, and this was already came before the board, we provided a letter and it went, you got funding for the project through CPC. We thought you were well on the way. And so now you're back and we don't have the funds that you're looking for, but we might be able to help out in a small way on funding. And if you need more, you have to go through the other. That's,
It is what it is.
I would have typed that to you and sent it in a communication, but I wanted the board's input, and that's.
And we appreciate that. We really do. All right, do we need to do anything to formally withdraw that application, or has the vote done that?
We haven't taken a vote yet. We have a motion and, oh, wait, I'm sorry, we did vote. Yes,
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
So you formally withdrew the application.
That is
and you're gonna
correct.
reapply.
Correct. Thank you so much for meeting with us this morning. We really greatly appreciate it.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
All right, so, next up, go
Can I
ahead.
just jump in
You
here?
can before I jump to the next thing.
Well,
Go ahead.
what I hear, and this is the banker in me, what I hear is some, a number, a different number, commitment numbers, that kind of thing. I am very uncomfortable with that kind of bookkeeping.
that, I have a problem. We voted on this in
Just all
August.
right.
We voted on this in
Hold on.
June. I
Hold
don't
on.
understand why,
Hold on one second.
Thank you.
It's
That's not-
me.
No,
no, it's not you.
we will discuss that at the next meeting,
Okay,
all right?
Yeah.
I'll put it on the agenda.
okay, thank you. That's, I would like that, yeah.
All right.
I've sent this out.
We won't have it. It's just we don't have it to look at.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that, yes.
So,
Okay.
I developed this because you had the same concern 2 years ago.
Right.
We agreed on this format.
okay, we're gonna discuss it for the next meeting. We're gonna move on to Cranberry Manor, and Noel Humphreys is on,
Where's Cranberry? Oh, I see.
Cranberry Manor,
I-
phase
Never mind,
two.
I
And Noel,
miss-
Noel, is it Noel? Noel Humphreys, Noel? From Neighbor Works?
I will let them in.
Thank you.
Yep, court, yep.
You there, Noel?
They're still coming up.
Okay.
So I think this is the one behind the, what I would call the
Right.
apartments. And I believe that they came before the select board
Yeah.
several months ago.
There's Noel.
Yeah, and that we had a letter of support that we issued, I believe the select board did.
And CP, Conservation has approved the project because it's up against wetlands.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a concern.
So,
Mhm.
can you hear us, Noel?
I can, yep. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes, can you spell your last name, please?
Sure, it's Humphreys, H-U-M as in Michael, P-H-R-I-E-S.
Thank you.
And you're representing Neighbor Works?
NeighborWorks Housing Solutions,
And the project is,
Cranberry Manor, Phase 2.
And what's the address?
It's a 2220 Cranberry Highway.
2220 and Berry Highway. Thank you.
yes, thank you. What would you like to address the board?
Sure. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me attend. As Judith mentioned, we have met with the select board a ways back to introduce our project. So, my intention right now, as we are in the midst of the permitting process, is essentially to give an introduction to folks about this project that we've been working on and what we're proposing. And I'll get into a little more about sort of our potential funding request after I give you an overview, if that makes sense. So my name's Noelle Humphreys. I'm the Associate Real Estate Development Director with NeighborWorks. For some, I'm not sure who knows and who doesn't, but NeighborWorks Housing Solutions is a regional nonprofit organization that focuses on cities and towns, basically from Quincy, Mass through to the Cape. We don't go over the bridge, we sort of end at Plymouth. and then go over to Fall River and New Bedford. There's about 77 towns and cities in our region. Under NeighborWorks, what we do is a number of things, including affordable housing and mixed income housing development. We are the administrator for HLC of subsidies and so forth that are provided by the state. We administrate those subsidies, we do the inspections and so forth. And then we're also we work with first-time home buyers, and we do first-time home buyer counseling and lending, as well as a few other things. We also have some domestic violence residents within our care that stay in some of the homes that we own, and we also have group homes. To date, we have developed almost 1,000 units of affordable housing in this region. And we right now have approximately 200 units within our current pipeline of more housing, rental housing. And we are also a consultant for Father Bills. So anyone who's familiar with Father Bills in Mainspring, we've had a long-term partnership with Father Bills, and over the past few years, we've taken on a development sort of consulting role for them as they're working on projects that consist of both permanent housing and then a shelter, sort of combined, so people can transition if they come out of the shelter and are able to into a permanent house or apartment. What brings us here today is we own a property it's at 2220 Cranberry Highway in Wareham, West Wareham, and it's called Cranberry Manor. So we've had this property since I want to say early 2000, if not a late 90s. So purchased the property, did some renovations at the time. Then in 2015, we renovated the property under the low income housing tax credit program. It's a 24 unit property, all 2 bedrooms for families. And I can, if it looks like I can share, so if you wouldn't mind, I can share an aerial quick, just so folks can see Cranberry Manor 1.
That would be fine.
Great.
Love this technology.
I do too, but don't ask me to try and
No,
do it.
Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can see basically the red sort of townhouse style looking homes. Those are the 24 apartment homes that we own and have owned for quite some time. And again, those are family units. There's children that live there, all 2 bedroom units. So what we've been doing more recently is looking at the project because of the fact that it's on 5 acres of land. And currently, where you see the building at the rear, there is just a storage facility. It's just a big garage, basically, that was built years ago for maintenance supplies and so forth, but is really way underutilized. And that's all that's out there, with the exception of the existing septic. Which is off to the left of the large building at the rear. So we've started looking at this to see what we could do to provide more affordable housing within the town. And also, as most of you know, with the market being the way it's been a lot harder in some cases to get affordable housing or to purchase affordable housing or vacant lots and so forth. The fact that we own this property and it takes away the negotiations with the seller and so forth, it makes a huge difference to be able to develop on our own parcel of land. So over the past year or so, we've been doing our due diligence and going through environmental and working with a civil engineer, brought on an architect. We've been talking to the town. As mentioned, we had gone before the select board to introduce the project. We've talked to the town planner, Ken. Recently, about 4 weeks ago, perhaps, we met with a couple of the town departments, including fire and the building inspector, to talk about our general conceptual plans right now and get their input so that going forward, we'd be able to make any modifications that would be more suitable for fire and in any other departments that would like to see certain changes. So we've gotten their feedback. And so now going into the building itself, what we're proposing is a 3-story single building, all 1-bedroom units for seniors. And it would be 40 apartment homes. And we basically sort of arrived at that number by backing into looking at the septic. And we found that 40 was the sort of perfect number to go to without going too high and triggering any sort of wastewater treatment facility. So we would do 40 units there. We would have separate septics. So we have a septic system already for the existing Cranberry Manor. We would build a new septic, which would be sort of to the right of the building, the new building, as you can see it. And that would be solely for that building. The building itself would contain community room. It has ample space for, all different sort of activity center, community kitchen, community, dining. It wouldn't provide services like food in that sense, but people could use the community room and there'd be a small kitchen. There'd be a management office. And we think one of the biggest things and one of the best things about doing this is that because the front site is so small, the management presence isn't as great as we would like it to be. It's just tougher having such a small, property. And so management, while they're there and maintenance is there, they're not full-time there. By adding the 40 units, we would have a big increase to management presence. The property would have its own maintenance supervisor. There would always be a manager in the office. And then in addition, we would add a resident services coordinator to assist with the senior population, and have seniors. We would put in services, if need be, have buses to take people to dentists, doctor's appointments, things like that. So it would open up quite an array of that. And we're very familiar here at NeighborWorks with the supportive service side of things. I'm actually working on a project in Brockton right now, which is the renovation of an old historic school into 37 units for seniors, mostly all 1-bedrooms, and very much the same sort of program, just obviously a different, more urban area. And right now we are about 75% through construction and looking to open that in the new year. And then we finished another project in downtown Holbrook, Mass, late 2023. And that's 72 units of apartments for seniors, all 1-bedrooms, near the center of town. And again, sort of this very similar nature compared to what we're looking to do here. So I would say, and I'll open it up to questions. I'll give you just one more shot of just a rendering of the building here. And again, this is still preliminary. There are some tweaks that we might see, but as for now, this is sort of how we see this building coming out. We are in the process right now of waiting for a project eligibility letter from the HLC. We've submitted an application to HLC for that letter. Our understanding is they're having this appraised right now, and we expect to receive that letter hopefully in December. And then once we receive their PEL, we would go before the town and begin the ZBA process under the 40B regulations. And, again, like this is more, I wanted to introduce myself. I was unsure in terms of actually the group you met with before and how you talked about what's available with the Affordable Trust versus a CPA. We're still sort of refining numbers and so forth. It seems to me like we would likely go before CPA because we will have a larger ask. I would say approximately 200 to 250,000 would be our ask. So the plan would be to go before CPA. And if you thought it was beneficial to request a small amount from the Affordable Housing Trust, we could do that as well. But we are not permitted yet. So I know that would be a little ways off. I think right now our interest would be to answer questions for you, and, you know, if we could get a letter of support for our upcoming application to HLC, that would be great, because we are going in, we're hopeful to go into the next, tax credit round with the state.
Okay.
Which it sounds like the other group might have gone in for that as well. I'm not totally sure. Maybe they were in supportive, but we still have a little bit of a road ahead of us at this point. But looking to continue getting support from the town and seeing, you know, what comments you may have or questions.
Okay, so you're basically asking from us at this point, a letter of support for the project,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
all right,
That was
will
just-
all of this be senior affordable?
Yep.
Or market rate?
All of it will be affordable.
And what do you have an estimate for a, monthly rent?
For rent. Bear with me one moment. I'm just gonna bring my numbers up. So of the 40, we are estimating that 8 of those units, which would be 20%, will be restricted at 30% AMI. So for those units, typically, you may know this, but typically those would be filled by people that have a voucher project, a Section 8 voucher would be able to fill those, and therefore their rents are a lot higher. But the resident does not, they only pay 30% of their income.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like, even if the rent is like, say, 2,000 at the time, based on the market rent, the resident only pays 30% of their income towards that. So those lower 30% units are covered, basically, they're subsidized. And again, the resident doesn't pay any more than 30%.
And the other units?
And then the other units we're looking at right now, it's looking at, based on the maximum tax credit rent, it's 60%. So believe it or not, the most we can charge, which is wild, at 60%, because it's so high, actually, is up into $1,836. We would more likely discount that and charge in the range of, say, $1,700.
Wow, affordable.
I know, exactly. No, believe me, it's crazy, because that's unfortunately now the way these are, you know, we say affordable, but you know, Wareham actually takes the Boston MSA to get to these rents.
Well aware of being in the Boston
So that's
market.
24 units at
Yeah.
60%?
No, 32.
That's, yeah, it would be
She said 60%, so
60.
yeah, 20%. So 8 of the units are will be at 30,
right.
and then the remainder 32 will
Oh,
be
I
at
misunderstood.
60.
Okay.
Yeah. And just keep in mind too, you know, these are preliminary underwriting numbers. I will say, as an organization, you know, like I said, we just filled a 72 unit property for seniors in Holbrook. We're not, you know, being a nonprofit, our mission is affordable housing, you know, we're really not out to gouge people. Obviously that's not what we are out to do. So while the max might be a certain amount, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to charge that. We're generally going to charge what we feel the general consensus can afford. So it's hard to say right now, because we're like 2-3 years out, but just from an underwriting perspective, it's, you know, I'm showing 17.
So you're looking at a 2 or 3 year time frame before you break ground.
I would imagine so, because right now our goal is to get into HLC to submit our tax credit application in the winter round, which is coming, it's due in the middle of February. And then they're likely to, you know, oftentimes you have to go in another round. So we could be 2 years just going in through HLC, you know. So it's that sort of a long, as you probably know from other projects, I'm sure you've seen.
One more question. Any way of making this for Wareham residents? I know we can't, we always like to say, can we
Can't
have it
legally-
for our town?
Cannot legally do that.
Can't,
That's what I'm pretty sure. We've had that question come up recently as well on the Brockton property, and we had the same struggle in that we can market and do everything to try to bring in the most residents. But we can't actually just like have a preference.
Reviewed that with town council.
70% we dedicated to the Wareham.
Well,
I thought I heard that come
um,
up somewhere.
right
along
now,
the line.
Jim, that does my questions.
What's that, Sandy?
I'm done with my
Okay,
questions.
please, Judith then.
Okay, have you done another project that requires a septic system?
I have not done another, like not recently done one that requires a septic system, but the folks on the team, we do have a very well-trained or big experience, I should say, in terms of our civil engineer who's working on the system, and also have team members who have been part of septic systems in the past. So I feel that we definitely have enough, like the combined experience and expertise is there to make sure that it's installed properly and, follows all the requirements.
Thank you, and it has been before the Conservation Commission and approved?
I honestly, there's something that says we talked about another building on this site and it's been within the last year and a half. I thought it was
think-
approved.
I think that was the meeting that we had with the some town departments that the town planner Ken had set up. So that was the one that I mentioned with the fire department building. There was a woman there from the Conservation Commission. It came up about how far the building was away, and it was noted that there did not appear to be any issues. But I don't know to say that it was like approved.
Okay,
Being the chair of conservation, I really do think we had this in front of us.
Okay, but this is not looking for a variance, right? And it's not.
I have no idea.
Wait, no, this is summary, sort of question, and it's not 40B. We'll have more than 9 parking spaces. So we'll have to go to the planning board and the planning,
Go ahead,
it is 40B.
It is 40B.
oh, I'm sorry, then
It
it
is
will go,
40B.
then it will go to the zoning board,
ZBA.
ZBA.
Yeah.
Then the NOI, either you'll need an RDA or conditions of,
Yeah.
if,
It falls under conservation.
no, if it falls, it was already stated that it fell under conservation.
Okay,
Okay.
I
so
don't know.
So that's all 2 years from now.
Go ahead, Judith.
at the moment, what is the price tag of this total project?
Right now, where it's penciling out to around 25 million.
And what do you foresee as your funding stacks? Because I'm not familiar with any way that you can make it all senior housing.
So we would be relying primarily on investments in the low-income housing tax credit in the state. So right now we have soft funding from the state, from HLC. We have federal low-income housing tax credits to the amount of approximately $8.5 million. We have a state low-income housing tax credit request as well. And then we also are going to apply for Federal Home Loan Bank Fund to the tune of $850,000. And then we'll have a first mortgage.
And so the question that you heard me ask the previous presenters, how much does NeighborWorks actually have in it in terms of equity?
So we will put in,
that-
we're usually, yeah, so for the usual, typically when we do these affordable deals, because of the limited, basically there's a pretty limited flow that comes out of them. They're generally pretty tight deals. So we take a developer fee as a result. It's not, while it's standard to defer a fee if we need to, it's not always typical to go in with any sort of owner equity up front. We're sort of into the, we're invest in the work. We cover all the pre-development costs, which can go upwards of $500,000, and can be tough as a nonprofit to fund over the years. But right now we're running it without any internal equity. But that could change. For instance, if the deal gets tighter, that could come in the form of a deferred fee. But it's very typical for these types of projects that aren't like a true sort of market rate deal with a good return on the other side, to not necessarily have our own sort of developer equity in up front. The capital stack most of the time does not contain that. So we don't right now, but that's not to say it wouldn't change at some point.
So you pull it out, on the development fees, you're allowed to make X amount of dollars on the development fees, right?
Yes,
And you're allowed
Yeah.
to make X amount as the administrator of the project after it's leased, correct? Per year,
yes,
by
yes.
law, if you're,
Yeah.
if you're given federal and state subsidies.
Yeah. They have there's a calculation up front that allows the fee, and then exactly that. Anything, as we move forward, if there's cash flow, of course, and it can be split different ways. But generally, I would say the most benefit is the actual fee. But then of course we'll make some money through cash flow.
So, yeah, so to follow up on
Go
what,
ahead.
yeah. So the fee structure is a percentage, am I correct?
It's a percent of various pieces of the total cost, so. there's a
Roughly
whole
speaking,
calculation.
what percentage are we talking that as a
I
fee
would
structure?
It's generally around 15%.
On the development, right?
On both on
On
both
the
parts?
development side.
Bear with me 1 second, I can tell you. It actually works out, just looking at it right now, to about,
You can,
It-
I can't see.
works out to about 10%
I can.
of the TDC, the total development.
I'm sorry,
cost.
again, no, Noel.
Oh, sure. It works out to approximately 10% of the total development costs. That's how it's sort of looking on my numbers right now, but it is, I mean, a lot of agencies, like even in other states. So Massachusetts has this sort of complicated calculation where it takes the first 3 million of your TDC and does 15% of it, then it's 12% instead. But some just do straight 15%
So,
of your total
so that's
cost.
your development-ish fee. What's your ongoing fee structure?
Oh, like just for, in some cases in owning it, we may have a small asset management fee. But that's really more dependent on our investors and what's allowed as we get further into the deal. So like on the other end, once we go into operations, those fees can be like 4,000 a year. But they're not in every deal. Oftentimes we're paying the investor the asset management fee. And we usually, like in this case, we have a third party property manager, so we would pay them for that part of it.
So
They're just generally not, these aren't like big cash cows, for lack of a better term. The cash flow is generally, it's tight, when we underwrite them. It just, by the nature of the deals themselves, which is why, that we sort of structure.
You're limited in your agreements to a percentage of the, say, operation costs. Once you're, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're allowed to pull out.
So are you banking on the fact that the Commonwealth is going to be underwriting a whole lot more affordable housing in the future at the expense of other investments possibly? Infrastructure expenses?
Yeah, we do this, we've been doing this for a long time and we're just continuing to do it. So where, the state there's been some troubling things around the other 4% tax credit with bonds, which can be more difficult, but we are hoping that on the 9% side, that they'll continue to do business the way they have. And, it's very competitive. So we're obviously like taking chances, but that's what we've always done.
Thank you.
And in this one, our structure is no different than any of the projects we've gotten funded in the last, 8-10 years.
Yeah,
It's
one
just
more.
more,
How long
a
have
little
you been
more
in business?
expensive.
Oh, geez.
How long have we been?
Yeah, sorry, how long have you been in business?
Since 1981.
Thank you.
There used to be South Shore Housing, was it?
Okay.
Yeah, we merged with South Shore. So South Shore Housing and NeighborWorks merged in 2019. And so now we're like, we're one big
Okay,
organization,
right.
regional organization.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
No question.
Sure.
Oh, I guess one more.
Okay, one more.
One more.
I defer, Judith may ask all my questions.
Do you need an updated letter from the select board? Cause I
Um,
don't remember when we wrote this, but I know we did, but I think it was a while ago.
yeah, it would be great to, just for our application to the HLC, it would be great to have, a letter from the select board, an update letter from the select board and a letter from AHT. Just would be really helpful as we go into them to see the town support.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
So
No, it's okay.
I don't really have any questions. So can I get a motion to provide a letter of support for Cranberry Manor 2 from the Affordable Housing Trust?
Move it, so moved.
Get a second.
Second,
Any discussion?
May I add that the letter of support will indicate in its verbiage that it is senior housing, affordable senior housing. Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Get a vote. Sandy?
aye.
Aye.
Carl?
Abstain.
You're abstaining, okay. And Jim Manise, aye. That's 3-0-1, right, Carl? Okay, could you provide me, details, of to whom and
Sure.
so send that to me in the email address that you have, please.
Yes, definitely.
And thank you very much for coming here and your patience with us.
No worries. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the agenda and including me today. We appreciate it.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Okay, so,
Bye.
goodbye. And so just, I'm gonna jump out of order here, as we have someone from Woodland Cove waiting, Mr. Arista. So if you could let him in there, please.
Yes.
We also have, and then it'll be Mr. Boschman. Yep, bring her, Jack.
Apologies, it's a slow computer. Yeah.
Mr. Arista, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Good
I can
morning.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and thank you for joining us. I believe we're doing a follow-up on the grant funding,
That's right.
and I did have a chance to speak with Town Administrator Sullivan, and it seems like things would be okay. Did you submit the application electronically, or was it a paper application?
I don't know because this
What's the
was done
application
quite a long
address?
time ago.
For Wingate, the grant
There's no grant application to Wingate. There was a management agreement
management agreement, okay.
that was done via email.
It was done electronically
Yes.
from Wingate?
Well, I mostly dealt with Dakota Partners. The
Okay.
agreement is in the contract system.
Okay, good.
A
Thank you.
signed copy of the
Thank
agreement
you.
is in the contract system, waiting for counter signature.
So I did speak with Mr. Sullivan last week, and it sounded like we were going to be moving forward on that.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
And
When do you think
Well,
that
I
we'll
will,
be signing?
I spoke with him Wednesday or Thursday, so, I can stop in after if he's in and ask
Okay.
him what the progress was. There was, there was a question, just in general, it wasn't a question, it was just information. My understanding is you're selling, you're in the process of requesting to be able to sell the development.
That's right. That's right. It's being sold to another housing, affordable housing owner.
Right, and you're asking for a waiver from the state for 3 conditions that is under the Executive Office of Housing and Living Communities that you need to get a waiver for. Does that affect the affordability status and or the length of term for the affordability restriction?
It does not. Everything stays exactly the same.
Thank you.
This owner is just stepping into our shoes. So all of the agreements, the same agreements stay in place.
Transfer and they get the tax credits then and
Correct. Correct.
Mr. Schultz.
Wingate Partners will then continue to be the management agent because that's who our administration contract is with.
That is correct. Yes.
And just what, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we never anticipated this kind of change. We need some kind of protection should Wingate Partners no longer be the management agent. Although these funds, I'm thinking out loud, and it was never envisioned. These funds are all gonna be dispersed pretty quickly. So we could deal with future arrangements if the management company changed. The phase, we've only approved
Correct.
$56,000 for phase 1. Those units presumably would be rented fairly quickly and the funds would be used fairly quickly. So our risk of a change in the management company.
Well, are there renters in there now?
The renters, yes. There are currently 43 occupied units. Let me actually pull up the current statistics. So 43 in the building. There's another 19 applications in process, which means there's only one more tenant to identify. It doesn't mean that all of the 19 that are in process will qualify, but it just says that there's plenty of people. They have a very long waiting list. And so if any drop out, they will just replace them with another person. So we expect to be completely fully leased by the end of November. 56 of the units are the ones that will be receiving this subsidy. There's actually 63 units in the entire phase. The others, the ones that are not qualifying for this subsidy, are the ones that are 80% of AMI. The ones that are qualifying are 60% and 30% of AMI.
Which building or buildings are being occupied?
There are 2 buildings for the phase, and they're both being occupied.
And you have a CO for both of them?
Yes, we do, of course.
Not a temporary one. You have a full.
No. Final certificate of occupancy for the phase.
And what building numbers are those, please?
They go by different nomenclatures. It's either buildings 3 and 4 or buildings E and F.
Thank you.
If you've been to the site, and I don't know that you have, you can see that, those 2 buildings are the furthest from the road.
Any other questions or statements from the board members? Okay, so I will stop over and see Mr. Sullivan again, but I did converse with him last week and he asked me what we'd like to do, and we'd like to get it off the table.
I appreciate that.
We committed to it, and as a board, it's something that once you commit to something and you have an agreement, you should follow.
And back to the observation about when the funds will be dispersed, they will be dispersed almost immediately because they're being promised to the people who are already there
It's,
that have occupied the building.
it's just a transfer on the ledger, correct? It's, there's no funding going to the occupants. It's going against their rent, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then we need to get a report back.
And I did,
All of that's documented in here.
and I did ask, Mr. Reister to, and he said he'd reach out to Wingate for the units and at what, percentage or rate affordability they'd be at and what they'd be receiving towards their first months from us. And he was going to reach out to Wingate. This was a communication we had, I guess, this weekend.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we've kind of covered that somewhat. And just a point of information, I noticed too that, I don't know if it's Dakota Partners or another subsidiary, but you also were selling you're interested in other housing units in Rhode Island and down the Cape maybe? I know.
That is
Rhode Island.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's not uncommon for the developer to,
Come in and go out.
yeah. People get worried about that and with concern, I have concern, you know. That's all I have to say. Anybody else have anything? No? Well, thank you, and I'll be in touch.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I,
Go ahead, Sandy.
No, she
no, I
said
just
bye.
said bye.
So we took that out of order. I'm gonna get Mr. Boschman in here.
Next time, bring donuts, you might get to go to the front of the line.
You getting some low blood sugar there?
I'll bring 4, cause 5, I'm sorry. I don't need them.
Well, it makes 2 of us anyhow. Go ahead, Mr. Boschman. How are we doing on everything?
So we're moving right along. This morning, I met with Paul, Mr. Turner. He said that he spoke with Mr. Bowen and he said there's no merger issue, so they're gonna issue the permits.
So you won't be going in front of the ZBA then?
We need to go in front of the ZBA.
You do?
We do. That's
Okay.
Wednesday because we're gonna, we missed a 1,600 square foot piece that abuts the neighbor's house that's actually, it's in the lot, but it doesn't have any touch at all to the existing development, which they'll see. It's a minor.
Wednesday being tomorrow or a week?
Yeah, tomorrow night, yep, it's a minor waiver, it's 1,600 square feet, actually, I spoke with Steve Ruiz, and it involved his property, and actually he said, I got 2 deeds, Steve, and he said, when I bought it, we actually have 2, and there was a 20 by 80 piece. It was 1,600 square feet is what he actually has more land than what he thought, or
So you have less.
we have 1,600 square feet less, but it doesn't affect the
So you're
the
looking
build-up.
for a major modification,
We're looking for a
major
minor.
decision,
Minor,
right, all right.
that's where we're at with that. We conveyed the deed to the LLC, financing and from Cape Cod 5, that's being drafted this week. NSP grant, we're all set except for one item from the state for Turning Point. The regulatory agreement is in place 9/10/24. They received it once we have the approval from that, we'll circulate it for the signatures from everyone.
Right, and just for information purposes, we refer to that as the deed restriction, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that Executive Office Housing and Livable Communities need to sign it. The bank
They
needs to-
have the agreement.
they
Once they sign it and send it back to Lynn, we'll put it in place down here, that's when.
Then the bank needs to sign it that they approve that and agree to it. I mean, that's on the
The bank already
signatory
has the
page.
paperwork, which
No,
is
but
how it's written now.
It's on the signatory page for that.
Correct, at the close,
Then the town needs to sign it also, just so that I'm just letting this,
Well, what Lynn wrote here is that she would send it out for signatures. We would circulate it, so whoever's on that list.
right. And the town would be the town administrator / select board, if I'm correct.
This is on Chapel Lane and
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. If you wanna determine that, you have Lynn's email?
I have everything. I'm just double checking to make sure that
No,
yep,
not you, Ms. Whiteside.
okay.
But if you need to confirm anything, you can email Lynn directly and she could answer all your questions.
Right. I was just providing information after reviewing the which I'm calling restriction, just old school. And everything seemed to be in place, in perpetuity and all the other things. And just on the signatory pages is free releases basically for the recording of the restriction. That's the town, executive office, housing and living communities, and the bank. So.
You asking that question or you telling me how it's going?
I'm making that statement after reviewing the document. And so for the town, it's the select board / town administrator who is the approving authority of that, I believe, not us.
Certainly not us, it's the town,
Correct.
yeah.
All right.
To me, it's Derek.
Yeah, with the select board's approval, of course. Usually you'd run that by them. It was just a statement on my behalf. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say regarding this?
Yes, I think we should finally vote on where the $50,000 is coming from. We really put that aside and I think we need to
I have that
approve that.
Okay,
Um,
I didn't have it down as a vote, but I did write it down in my,
You said, okay,
yeah, it's,
but it's one of those things that we've always seemed to, from the beginning, we were talking about using our funds. But with the $150,000 CPA grant that we got in fall of '23, it is a caveat that it be used for new housing.
okay,
So I strongly recommend that the $50,000 for 6 Chapel Lane come out of the article from fall, 150,000, out of the 150,000 that we got at fall town meeting. And not out of our funds. Because as we talk about Woodland Cove Phase 2, we cannot use that CPA grant for that Phase 2 because it's not developing new affordable housing, it's a rental assistance. Did that make sense? Somewhere down the line, we have, but not formally, we've sort of said you're gonna get you're getting another 56,000 for Woodland Cove Phase 2. And we talked about, I know you're making a face on it, but we
No.
talked about it. We
Correct.
haven't voted on
correct,
it.
you're right.
But it's one of those things that we cannot use the
So-
recent CPA grant for that.
So you're making you would like to recommend that the Affordable Housing Trust utilized funds
I will
Provided
I will make it as a formal motion.
you would, all right, do that, please.
Okay, I make a motion that the $50,000 for the 6 Chapel Lane project be funded by the fall '23 Article 9 approved at town meeting, fall of '23 Article 9 for the 150,000. Did I come out right? That's
I'll
50
get it right in the minutes.
It's that we use the funds from that CPA grant. Oh, sorry, fall '23, number 12,
Article 12.
Article 12.
Yes.
Okay.
That we fund that 6 Chapel Lane project from that $150,000.
Okay,
Boy, did I go
we
around the
have a
backside
second?
on that
I'll
one.
second it.
Ah,
we have a second, a motion and a second, open for discussion. Any discussion on that?
Just a
Mrs.
point
Whiteside.
of order.
Point of
From
order,
the
Mrs. Whiteside.
150, the how much has already been committed of that 150?
None.
Thank you,
Information, right?
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else from anyone? So we have a motion and a second to take the funds in the support of the Chapel Lane project out of CPC from fall of 2023. Can I get a vote on that?
Aye.
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 Aye, 400. Okay, so we're moving along slowly, Mr. Roach.
That's right.
And
Things
thank
take
you for
time.
your
Now,
patience.
do we want to wait until we see the deed restriction to submit the money, fund request to CPC?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes,
my vote would be yes.
yes.
Having,
Nothing gets moved until we have a signed deed restriction, period. That's, I mean,
I'm good
that's
with it.
just, yeah.
No questions at all.
and we have the, grant agreement, which is also, we said we needed, so we need to have the grant agreement approved by by Jim and the town administrator. So you have the grant agreement,
have
Jim.
I'm struggling with it. This is also in the contract system. It should have already been signed by Derek.
Did you get a signed one from Derek?
I sent,
Everything would go to Lynn, I wouldn't sign
I
it.
sent all of
I would
it.
sign it here, but it would
Alright,
get forwarded.
I got it done, anyway. I didn't bring it because I didn't know we were gonna have to talk about it.
That's okay, what I'll do is,
Talking about this, the thing that was sent,
Yes. What do you,
this was sent this morning or over the weekend or something.
yes. No, this is something Sandy handed out this
Oh,
morning.
okay,
That's this.
so,
that's that, yeah, okay.
so what Kyle was just saying is that the contract, or the contract,
It is a
right?
contract in a sense.
And also the agreement with Dakota, Wingate, were submitted through the electronic, was submitted electronically. to-
Not by them, but by me through Patty to the system to get it, which is what I was told.
So Derek
Nothing
has
gets
that.
signed by Derek unless it goes through that system.
Right, okay.
So we need to get the signed copy from him.
Let's just double check that I actually did that. It's been a while now.
Yeah, all right,
So you're gonna check with that?
I'm gonna follow.
Okay,
up.
so can you email Lynn and CC me that, please? That way we're all on the same page. And if there's something that we need to do,
I'm with you.
It's gonna just be paperwork.
Sure.
Thank you. And anything else, on Chapel Lane? You good, Mr. Slavin?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Schultz?
Surprisingly good.
Nothing.
Okay. Thank you, and thanks for your patience, to everybody.
chocolate. Now I know what kind. Okay, that's fine.
Chocolate donut, good on it?
I'm covering Sandy and Alan.
So. It's been kind of a bear of a meeting.
Yeah, really.
We have more things. I have an update I wanted to share, but whenever we get to that.
Okay, let's see, let me see where we're at. All right, so I'm gonna jump on to C of open item continual business, saying we're in that area. Request for Safe Harbor, the town requested it, I believe, is that right, Mrs.
Correct.
Whiteside?
Are we really at 10%?
Yep, when we count what yes, we are. The numbers were certified by Ken. Who did all of the math and did all of that and sent it to
We're
us.
waiting for a reply.
Yeah, and we're waiting for a reply.
Cause
Correct.
what I have from August of 24, we weren't at 10%,
We are
and
now,
that include Woodland Cove.
We're
there,
in the process of applying for Safe Harbor.
correct.
Derek said he had instructed Mr. Buckland to submit.
Wow.
So whether it's under 10% or under so many units being developed in having occupancy permits provided in a period of time, we've applied and we're hoping.
Okay, Cause everything I have says 983 units, that includes the
That was the
6
last report we got, I agree with you, Ms. Slavin.
And that included the 6 from Chapel Lane, so I
And there-
still don't see 10%.
And there were expiring units,
There's
but,
other processes in order to reach safe harbor.
yeah, so
So the 10% is not the only way to reach safe.
Correct.
Okay.
just related to SHI Safe Harbor,
Please.
I am aware of a large 40B housing project being proposed behind Rosebrook that I couldn't get a count of units. You happen to know the count of the units? It's several hundred.
Several hundred. Yeah, because we got the proposal package
Is this a
to make peace.
affordable?
It's a 40B
It's a
project.
40B.
Has anybody talked to sewer on this one? First I've heard of it.
It's in the planning office, so that's all I know.
Yeah, it's in the planning office.
It's just a
All I
submit-
know, yeah.
It's not
Planning
a-
won't tell sewer,
It's not an
okay.
application, correct?
No, it was an informational
Yeah. All right.
packet given to us as a courtesy,
How many units?
given to
Several
planning
hundred,
as
I
a,
don't know.
yeah.
In zoning, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
Just-
Right?
I
I
was just
mean-
doing it, this is just information
No,
sharing.
thank
It's-
you.
It's gotta go through the process.
Yeah. What'd you say, 200?
Several hundred is
Several
what I
hundred, yeah.
heard, but I don't have an exact count.
Okay, it's good to know. I'm gonna move two of the things that I have on, under new business, grant funding processes and, funding the trust, which kind of wraps together. For our next meeting, it's been a long meeting.
And we could then include the whole, what is our funding
Yeah,
status?
I think that would be very
And
helpful.
and ratify the vote we just took for the funding source.
Oh, wait, did we, which funding source? We did vote on
For
that, didn't we?
Steve.
Yes, but it's not on
Once
the
it ran-
agenda to do such.
Wasn't on the agenda.
Oh,
to
it was-
vote.
So we
oh.
need to ratify it at the next next meeting.
I misunderstood.
Okay.
Now I understand what you're saying, so we have to put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, now, that would move us on to member comments, updates, and discussion. Do we have any? Mrs. Slavin?
No,
No,
oh,
no,
no, I'm going down the hall and get an updated general ledger for the FY '24. I'm making that happen right now.
And then just add what we have from CPC and we've approved for expenditure from CPC and we'll have a number. Another number beyond the one that Carl provided in July, was it August?
That was the year-end report that
Right.
we sent to town meeting, or
So-
to the, I don't,
Or-
who did I send it? I sent it to you, Judith.
Select board.
Yeah, the select board's office.
So Carl, do you have any comments, updates, and discussion?
No,
Myself, either of them. Anything unreasonably expected? Having none. Then can we get a motion to adjourn then?
aid.
It's made by Mrs. Whiteside,
10:28.
No, not open for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, 400. Thank you for your patience.